A local aviation group is doing its part to highlight the remarkable history of World War II. They're all volunteers.
Our Bella Caracta takes us to the Council Bluffs Airport to share their latest project.
So welcome to the Great Plains Wing Museum.
Jim Freibert calls himself the librarian here at the Commemorative Air Force, or CAF, Great Plains Wing Museum.
Omaha has a big piece of aviation history in the United States. People don't realize that.
But Freibert and fellow volunteers like Bruce Mundy are changing that one restoration, one tour at a time. The group's latest project is restoring a 1946 World War II era air coupe and getting it up in the air once again.
The sacrifice made by that greatest generation is honored today in this hangar and across the CAF by restoring and keeping these airplanes flying and that history alive. We found this airplane in Hastings, Nebraska in a hangar, essentially a barn find.
This aircraft was used for testing a then revolutionary way to propel an aircraft called jet-assisted takeoff. Air coupes were also used for anti-submarine warfare. After this one was found in Hastings, it was then donated to be restored. A process that's already taken off.
We spend a lot of time and money to restore aircraft like that.
Mechanics get the aircraft flying while Freibert grounds this generation and the next to America's history. His favorite part?
Being part of the educational mission or honoring veterans, inspiring kids.
On your side, in Council Bluffs, Bella Caracta, 6 News.
The Great Plains Wing volunteers are asking for donations to help finish this restoration. You can find details on how to help at our website, WOWT.com.